Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Pearl Davis has racked up a legion of online followers and plenty of breathless newspaper coverage by sharing her incendiary views on modern feminism. The New York Post called her the female Andrew Tate. So she tapped into genuine female pushback to the excesses of wokery, or is she just an attention seeker? We'll find out in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the clip that sent her viral.
She's not the female Andrew Tate. I'm sorry. Pearl is just a donut. She's nothing like Andrew Tate. She's just somebody that says things that I don't even think she believes.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
I think she's a grifter. Do you know what I find funny about her as well? I went on her channel today. She popped up on my recommended. You know how she was cussing reaction channels?
Yeah.
Obviously, her podcast and her grift can only go so far, right? Putting women down the way she does and saying the things that she doesn't believe. Generally speaking, the views don't match the amount of subscribers, right? Because she gamed the algorithm. She posted tons of shorts and amassed a massive following through these. It's not necessarily through her podcast. Although her podcast did used to get decent views, it's dropped off quite significantly.
Yeah, because I feel like it's changed from what it was before anyway.
Well, it had to. How long can you really say the same bullshit about people over and over again? But you know how she was cussing reaction channels? She's doing bare reaction videos now.
No.
What up, guys? Welcome to the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel and welcome to my reaction series.
Yeah, Pearl will go where the money goes. She doesn't believe the things she's saying. She's a grifter.
A lot of people think I'm insane because I don't think women should vote. Everybody thinks I'm crazy for this opinion. If anything, this is probably my most extreme opinion. 90% of women have been on birth control. 1 out of 3 women has had an abortion. 1 out of 3 women has an STD. Average body count is over 5, so that your average wife has slept with over 5 people. 95% of women are not virgins on their wedding days. So I understand the complaint.
What is she talking about?
Such an idiot. I bet she slept with more than 5 guys as well.
But what, all of that stuff means women shouldn't be able to vote?
No, not that. And she doesn't think women should be allowed to vote because women don't get drafted. Which is... Before we get into this clip, this whole women not being allowed to vote thing is dumb. I'm fairly certain that if you speak to the men that have gone overseas to protect our rights over here, I'm fairly certain those people would want the women to have the chance to vote. The whole reason, one of the reasons that they go and fight for us is to protect our rights and our democracies. I don't think that they go over there with the notion that they are fighting a war to come back over here for you to have your rights taken from you. I think the whole reason they do that is so that people have the rights to do that. I mean, there hasn't been a draft in how long now? It's been ages. So what? Should I not have the right to vote because I'm not in the military? I work a regular job. I come here and do a YouTube channel. I'm not in the military, and most people I know and most people throughout my life probably won't join the military. So what you're saying is that only the men that go to fight overseas and join the military and join whatever divisions they have there should be allowed to vote. Because then wouldn't I be in the same position as these women? I haven't gone overseas to fight. There hasn't been a draft. So by your logic, if you want to take the vote away from women because they don't have to go overseas to fight, should we also take the vote away from all the men that are never going to go overseas to fight? If I went overseas to fight a war for my country, I don't think my notion is going to be, I don't want women voting though.
There's no way she actually genuinely believes this as a woman speaking as well. Like, it's crazy. And I think if people are saying she's the female Andrew Tate, she is going to feed on that and she's going to be saying more dumb shit.
It's an insult to Andrew Tate as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you cannot like Andrew Tate. I don't think Andrew Tate's even close to being stupid. I think Pearl's a dumbass.
Okay, well, Pearl joins me now alongside political journalist.
Back again as well.
For God's sake. You get of all the people.
Why does
Piers does it on purpose, man?
Why does he keep bringing the same people back? Like, just get new people and get people who can actually hold a decent discussion.
Yeah, you got Dumb and Dumber. Like, you found the only person that's going to lose to Pearl in a conversation.
But do you know what? That's what I'm saying. This girl is going to make Pearl look good.
Yeah. I haven't seen this yet. This was sent over by one of our viewers. I'm willing to bet that, I didn't think that Ethan could make somebody look stupid in this day and age. But Pearl was that dumbass. I think this blonde girl she's even, the things that she said on the Piers Morgan show have been so egregious and stupid that I think that Pearl might end up winning this conversation.
She probably will.
We'll see.
Because Pearl knows how to, I think, put people on the spot as well.
Yeah. definitely.
And Pearl is the sort of person who will do research before going into anything, so she has her points ready to say.
Her research is very, very questionable.
Yeah, but she'll have things in mind, points to raise, whereas people like this just go in and just hope for the best and just say whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
Eva Santini was nodding furiously along there to everything she heard. Right, Pearl, you've be called the female Andrew Tate. How do you plead?
Well, I take it as a compliment. You know, I'm a fan of Andrew Tate.
Of everything he says?
It depends what we're talking about, but overall, I think he's got a good message. I think he's good for young men.
Okay, look, you're talking about women predominantly, which is why you've got this big following. And your view is that modern feminism is deeply flawed. I would argue a lot of your proposals, like taking the vote away from women, are deeply regressive. Mm-hmm. Why would you want to remove, just from yourself, the right to vote?
Well, what happened was I had the same view, right? Back when I started, I was like, why? I found out that only 5% of women wanted the right to vote. And I couldn't figure out, like, why would women not? No, it's true. It's true. You look it up.
At the time.
Where the hell did she pull that statistic from? Are you talking about women in England? Are you talking about women in America? Are you just talking globally? Are you saying what?
Sorry, I have to check this out. I can't.
5% of women on the planet. What you're saying is 95% of women don't. As far as I was aware, I think the numbers lean towards women in terms of people that go out to vote. I think there are more men that don't vote than women. I might be getting that wrong. If I am, the numbers are very close. But I know that there have been studies run where they have looked up the people that are more, because you know, men are more disagreeable than women, right? And a lot of people hold the opinion that it doesn't really matter who you vote for. They're going to mess us up anyway. And a lot of those people tend to be men. Only 5% of women want the right to vote. I don't know. I would love to know where she got that from.
Because they've been conditioned by men to think that they shouldn't have a vote.
I mean, that's what they say. But, you know, I started reading their writings, right? And what I found out was that the reason a lot of women advocated for it was because they believed it was the beginning of the breakdown of the family. You know, before you became one in marriage, 85% of people were married. And, you know, I hate to say it, but they were right. What has happened 100 years later?
But what's that got to do with them having the vote?
Well, it also goes back to responsibility. Again, men are 80 to 90% of the military. They run all of the infrastructures that make society run. So I just think if we want an equal say in society, then be equal. Do 50% of the hard jobs. Be 50% of the military. In the U.S., they're fined $250,000 if they don't join selective service, which is essentially the draft.
Okay, but specifically on the vote, what would having the right to vote have to do with family cohesion, for example?
Well, because again, before you weren't trying to divide a family. It was one family unit. You had one vote for the family. I mean, I don't think it's good for a family to have two votes.
Ava, your mouth seems to have dropped about 3 feet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what she says. But typically, when you marry somebody, typically their views politically usually line up, right? You don't usually get a very liberal woman and a very conservative man, or vice versa. I mean, it might seem silly to say if you're really young watching this, and I think I had the same viewpoint before, but as you get older and you go into the stage of your life where you're looking for a partner, I'm not going to go and marry somebody that is the polar opposite to my views. So generally speaking, I'm sure within marriages, people that are married are going to vote the same way. They're going to vote, me and you might vote right? And then whoever else will vote left. I can't imagine being with somebody that is left-leaning and I'm right-leaning. I can't see how that would work well. So that sounds like BS to me. I haven't read any studies on it. It just doesn't sound plausible. Why would you marry somebody that is on the complete opposite side of the spectrum to you? I mean, if you're both centrists, then I can understand. But if you're both centrists, then there's going to be reasonable ideas proposed for why one's voting one way and one's voting the other way. And if it's a marriage, I highly doubt that's going to be the breakdown of your marriage because you're centrists. I don't think Democrats and Republicans or conservatives and leftists are marrying each other. That's just not happening. That makes no sense to me. Most of the military infrastructure is made up of men. That's correct. It is mostly made up of men. Most of the hard jobs are done by men, but what about all the men that are not doing the hard jobs? What about the men that are also working in, I don't know, call centers, McDonald's, wherever else where they're not breaking their backs? Should they have their rights taken away to vote? They're doing the same jobs as these women, right? And there's millions of them. If you have that sentiment towards women because they're not going to be drafted, they don't make up most of the military, and most of the hard jobs are done by men, which they are, I agree. What about all the men that are not doing those hard jobs? What about all the men that just work from home? Should I have my right to vote taken away from me? I'll work from home. So what? And then what if I quit my job and we're just full-time YouTubers? Should I not have the right to vote? What you're saying is absurd. It's just dumb. People fight for us to have these rights. Just because Sabi's not going to go over and pick up a gun and start firing at people in another country if we go to war doesn't mean that she shouldn't have the right to vote.
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand the logic behind it, or why just because women aren't doing such things, they don't have a right to vote. Like, we're all humans. We're all living on this earth. We should all have the right to vote. And I just think it's very, very silly coming from a woman. She's basically preaching she doesn't want to vote. And why would you not want to be heard or have a voice or have a say or a choice in it? It's just bizarre to me.
It is honestly bizarre. And I want to ask the people that are watching our videos, would you be okay if your wife, your mum, or your daughter not being allowed to vote on the basis that they are a woman? And I also want to ask the guys that don't work in oil rigs, that are not in the military, that are not out paving the roads, and you're working in very, not to be insulting, I work from home as well, but very easy to do jobs. Should you have your right taken to vote? Because you're not contributing to any of these things that she's saying. You ain't out there in the freezing cold.
You're going to knock this over. I can't.
Oh, sorry. I was about to fling the drink all over the mics. You're not out there in the cold. You're not out there paving anything. You're not out in the military. So because you're a man, does that preserve your right to vote on the basis that we might get drafted? We haven't been drafted in how many years now? When was the last time? It's been 60, 70 years since a draft. We might go another lifetime with not being drafted. Unlikely at this point, the way things are going, but we might go a whole lifetime without a third world war. So you should lose your right to vote. Otherwise, you're literally just saying, I should just have a right to vote because I'm a man, even though I've done none of these things that Pearl's talking about.
What about if we all identify as men? Can we vote?
Sabi got you.
Oh, I know.
No, it's just sort of a bit galaxy brain. I feel like, the stats that you're putting down are perhaps correct in some universe.
Which stats?
They just kind of don't really add up. I mean, just to take you back to the to the women's writings that you've allegedly read. I mean, at
allegedly?
The time, well, at
what
the
do you
time
mean allegedly?
At the time that you're talking about, women weren't really allowed to write. They weren't allowed to go to school.
Yes, they were.
Write.
Yes, they were. That's incorrect. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. The idea that women couldn't work and couldn't.
I'm so sorry, but that would be inherited property.
They shouldn't have chose this woman. I'm sorry.
No, but wait. The first female property owner was in the 1600s. That would be an anomaly. Majority of women, almost all women in the 1600s, could not own properties. The woman that she's referring to, I have no idea who this woman was, because as far as I was aware, the first female property owners were in like the 1920s. Something like that. It might have been earlier. The first female millionaire, self-made millionaire, was in the 1800s. It was a black woman, an entrepreneur. I can't remember her name. Something Beadlove. I can't remember her name, but people can look her up. But generally speaking, women were not owning properties back then. And generally speaking, if a woman was making a lot of money, what do you think she was doing? What's the oldest profession on the planet? Prostitution. If women were making a lot of money back in them days, they were probably prostitutes. Now, it's not to say that there wasn't. If there was a female homeowner, maybe there was in the 1600s, that would be an anomaly. Women were not homeowners. They didn't have the autonomy that they do now. They didn't have the rights that they do now. what you're saying is a load of shit.
No, the first female millionaire was in the late 1800s.
And was that inherited?
No, it wasn't. It was self-made. Yes, it was.
Self-made.
Yes, it
and
was.
She never inherited land.
Yes, she did not
inherit it.
inherit
What law permitted that?
What
law permitted that?
Well, there was no law. I mean, there's.
Do you know what I find funny about what Pearl's doing? On her podcast, she always talks about generalities, right? Generally speaking this, generally speaking that. Don't pull to the extreme. The woman that was a self-made millionaire in the 1800s, I know who she's talking about. Her name, I keep forgetting her name. I know it's a black woman. I know she was an entrepreneur. I know she was the first female millionaire. But she would be an outlier. That's an outlier. Majority of millionaires and billionaires today are men. Majority of them are men. So you telling me that this was just a widespread common thing back then? Obviously not. It was a one-off situation. But on your podcast, you talk about how these girls talk about one-off situations and that they don't look at generalities and statistics. And now you're doing it yourself to make your point. Everyone knows. I don't care what Red Pillow wants to come on here and talk shit. We all know what the deal was with male and female dynamics in the 16, 17, 18, and 1900s. Let's not pretend. Things ain't like that anymore, but they were like that. And the women that were making bank by opening their legs.
Always been women that were influential in history.
Let's get on to the vote. So what I don't understand is, a part of your message, I've researched you today, and hang on a minute.
Okay.
Your big push is that you care about men and you don't think that men are getting enough of a say. But
well, I care about
hang
women
on,
too.
I haven't made the point yet.
Okay.
Because of feminism, okay? What I wonder is when you start making calls out like repeal the 19th, women shouldn't be allowed to vote. How is that helping young men? Because these young men have women in their lives. They have mothers, they have sisters, they have teachers, and they turn around, they don't know how to act around women because you're giving them license to be misogynistic.
I wouldn't call it misogynistic. I say be equal. So again, men do all of the
feminists are
well,
saying.
then okay, I'd love for the feminists, please apply for the oil rigs. Please go do the hard jobs in society. They're open.
Do you know what I love about her and these Red Pill podcasts? What's the one thing I love saying? Men and women are just different. They're just different, but now be equal. It's like, just, they don't, there's no way they believe their own bullshit. You honestly, forget about Pearl. She's a dumbass. But ask yourself, do you really want the women in your life to not have the right to vote just because they don't work more strenuous jobs than you?
I mean, I don't watch enough of Pearl, but the amount that I have seen of her, what she preaches about men and women, I've never seen her preach the word of be equal, ever.
No, she never does.
Someone please send me the link in my DM so I can see her preaching about being equal.
No, what she wants is she wants women to go into these oil rigs, and she wants women to pick up a gun and go over to Russia, and she wants women to do all the hard things that men do. And we've had discussions about this before, and there's discussions to be had around it, around some of the talking points around it, but what she's saying is nonsense, because if she has that mindset, then that has to apply to all the men that also don't do all those things. And she's not saying that. She's only saying women shouldn't have the right to vote. So she's outcasting an entire agenda, which is nonsense. If your mindset was, if you don't serve in the military and you don't work jobs that give back to society, the ones that she's naming, oil rigs and building the roads and the architecture and whatever, then you shouldn't have a right to vote, then fine, whatever. That's your viewpoint. But she's only targeting women here, which throws her logic under the bus. She's dismissing an entire other part of the conversation.
They're hiring because I don't think men or women are equal until we do the equal work. So no, listen. Go apply to be on the oil rigs. Go be a plumber, go be an electrician, go be on the front lines of the military, and then we should have equal rights. But until feminists are willing to do that, I don't believe we should have the freedom without the responsibility.
Okay, well, I don't think that I'm physically built for that. You might be, but I'm absolutely not.
But she's talking facts there, though.
Yeah, because Pearl's a big girl. Physically, she might be built for it.
How is she saying that she expects or wants women to go and do all these hard labor things? Because it's true, we are built different, and the job's probably more than likely not going to get done as good or properly because we're just not built for it.
Yeah, it's just what she's saying is dumb. If war hit now and the men were getting drafted, I would not encourage sending women to fight a war. Men are better at fighting, right? And although we have technology now and a lot of things can be done with drones, guerrilla warfare takes place on the ground, right? It's not just all firing missiles and whatever. There's going to be guys bursting into houses. Actual face-to-face violence is going to happen. You're going to want big, strong men on the front lines. I would never encourage women to be on the front lines. And I would, if I was drafted, my mentality would be that I'm fighting so that my mum, the women in my life, the people at home still have their rights. Not, I've gone to fight, so I'm the only one that can do it. I don't think anyone that has like a hero's mentality or just the idea that they want to protect their country believes that. I don't think any of these service people believe that. Maybe there is some. Obviously, I can't speak for everybody, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Do you really want your mum to lose the right to vote just because she's not on the oil rigs? What about all the time that she put into raising you? Your mum raised you, and obviously with your dad, but they helped raise you to become the person you are today. Doesn't that count for something? I mean, the women typically stay home to raise the children, right? Whilst the men are out working. Let's say your dad went off to the military and he's never home. Your mum raised you. Now it's your turn to go off and fight. She doesn't get a vote. Oh, she's just talking out of us. What she's doing is she's appealing to this base that has ill will towards women. There's no other way to really put it, because this is a regressive talking point. Mm-hmm. There's things we've discussed on here before where me and Sabi have butted heads about men and women in society. And there are definitely things that these third wave feminists do that I do not like. I ain't on board with the whole third wave feminism thing at all anyway. But Pearl's talking points are also stupid as well. They're two sides of the same coin. Just Pearl's on this side of it and the feminists are over here.
No, but you said you were a volleyball. Wow. You said you were a volleyball player, and so you've got more strength than I do. I don't think. But I don't have more strength. I don't have more strength than the average man. I'm not going to take your right away to do it. I don't have more strength than the average man. But again, it goes back to go be a plumber. You want to be equal, go be equal.
You also, but you want divorce to be made illegal.
Yes.
Why?
Yes, because I don't think what we have today is really marriage. What is marriage? It's for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do us part. That's what marriage is supposed to be. But feminists have ruined marriage for the people that actually believe in marriage.
How?
When there's a 50% divorce rate and the average marriage
Why is that all down to the women, though?
I didnn't say that it was all down to the women.
So why feminists
you asked why I want divorce to be banned.
Yeah.
Can I finish that first? So
It's not that people are not letting you finish. It's that you're saying the feminists have destroyed marriage. So you're blaming women because majority of feminists are women. So what Piers calling you out on that is fine. Now we're gonna let you finish, but I do think that some people look at marriage as they don't look at it in the way they should anymore. And I think people have this notion that the grass is greener on the other side and they don't want to work things out. There's an argument to be had there, but banning divorce, are you fucking insane? Are you crazy? People get divorced for very good reasons. Okay, if a woman is coming home and getting beaten by her husband, and I don't want to hear this bullshit, oh, that's rare. It's not rare.
Do people say it's rare?
People say it's rare.
That's
Remember that Mr. Enjoy idiot? ML, whatever his name, MLG? Whatever. MLK. No, not MLK. That sounds too close to Martin Luther King. Whatever his name was. But he was like, enjoy.
If there's someone that's very, very young, might be really religious and like values marriage a lot, and goes into a marriage and has kids when they're like 18, 19, 20, and then a year into the relationship, it gets really, really
From who?
Would you? From both.
This is so rare.
Anyone
so
really.
Rare.
Go on.
Go on.
My point is, I'm just, even though it might be rare from what you guys think,
it is.
If it would happen, what would you recommend for those people to do? Would they divorce, or do you want them to keep going in the relationship?
Keep going.
You can't divorce. I mean, that's not a real thing. You can like separate. See, his Catholic background shines through. He knows. You can't divorce. You can separate, but you can't actually divorce. That's not a real thing.
Even though it might be like physically abusive.
You got to endure. People are too.
You want to stick into the relationship.
People are just.
Look,
people nowadays are just pussies. Everybody fucking quit.
It's not just that. Imagine you're with a guy. Let's take children out of it for a second, because not everybody that gets married has children. You're working, he's working, but you're coming home and you have to do everything. And that's just the way your life is for however long. Say that a guy marries a woman, she's cheating on him. She's banging the whole neighborhood. What, he should stick around for better or for worse? What the fuck are you talking about? Nobody's denying that there's an issue with divorce and that divorce is very high, and women majority of the time initiate a divorce, but the reasons for why they're initiating divorce, some of them are going to be very legitimate reasons. You can't just look at the statistic and say It's women that are initiating divorces, and that's it. There's going to be multiple reasons for why they are initiating divorce, and you would look into those reasons. But whatever the reasons are, to absolutely ban divorce, knowing full well that some marriages have serious domestic violence issues, and that the children being near somebody that is abusive, whether it's the man or the woman, is worse for the children. It's better to remove them from the situation. I don't believe that sticking around in an abusive marriage is better. So no. Again, there's conversations to be had about turnover rates in marriages, but I'm not going to entertain a conversation where you absolutely ban divorce. That's retarded. If Pearl got into a marriage and her husband started beating the tar out of her, or cheating on her, because it's not just cheating, although with the way Pearl talks, she'd be happy for her guy to step out. Guys are just exercising their options, right?
Yeah, but
what if he brings you home an STD?
Sometimes things just don't work out, and two humans should just not be forced to just remain in something.
Yeah. Idealistically, if I was to marry somebody, yes, I want it to work out. We've gone through the trouble of getting married. We've gotten the government involved and all that shit. We've professed our love in front of the Lord or whatever.
Paid a lot of money.
Paid a lot of money. Everybody, like, it's a lot to go through a marriage and get divorced. And I'm not speaking from experience, but we've seen it. I'm sorry, I can go through all that shit. If my wife is cheating on me, am I supposed to just put up with it? She just go out and get raw dogged by whoever? I should just put up with it. That's bullshit. And the thing is, I guarantee if you asked her, should a man stay with a woman if she's cheating on him? What do you think she's going to say? No. But then I bet you if you ask her...
Because women do it out of emotion.
Yeah, she'll give some stupid reason. But then if you ask her, oh, if he's smacking you around, should you stay with him? She's probably going to say yes. As a matter of fact, didn't they have this conversation on the whatever podcast?
What about if two people get married, they have a kid, and then the wife starts cheating? Do you think they should divorce?
Absolutely.
They should divorce then?
Jesus himself said.
But it wasn't
hold on. Jesus
and you
himself
could like
said,
work things through, right?
Jesus himself said in cases of adultery, divorce is
So you think that
permissible.
divorce is worse than physical abuse?
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I'm saying, the people that believe in divorce, go be in long-term relationships. Leave marriage for the people that actually believe in, for better or for worse, for richer or for poor, in sickness and in health, till death do us part.
But doesn't the sanctity of marriage also rely on the woman being a virgin? So you wouldn't be able to get married.
She's just digging.
That was
It's
so
irrelevant
petty.
though. It's an irrelevant point to raise. Do you know what I mean? It's just
Well, not exactly, because Pearl attacks these girls for being 304s and sleeping around or whatever, and Pearl's had her partners as well, so she's not a virgin either.
understandable, but I don't think it's relevant to this topic.
It's relevant to Pearl though. I wouldn't bring that up in any other discussion, but because of Pearl's attacks on women and saying, "Oh, you're not eligible you're low in the sexual marketplace," so are you.
You look at men, right, in terms of like their viability. You look at men and say, he's a high value man, he's a medium value man, he's a low value man, right? I mean, we could say that. We can put men into those categories. Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's say you're in the dating field, right? You're looking for a partner. Mm-hmm. Right?
What do you mean?
I mean, you're single essentially, I guess, and you're looking for a significant.
Maybe not.
Okay, so if you're looking for men, if a man who is willing to settle, let's say you're not that old, but you're 26, and you say that anyone over 25 is like almost damaged goods or getting worse and worse.
No.
It's less valuable. It's less valuable.
Correct. Yes, I would say I was more valuable 5 years ago. Yes, in terms of the dating market. Yes.
So do you think that, how can somebody who's older and not a virgin and less valuable, how can they get in a relationship with a man and not think they're a loser? Because if you're a low value woman, then in a sense, you'd be judging the guy who's quote unquote settling for you because he couldn't get a higher value woman. Mm-hmm. So in a sense, a guy that you would settle for would be a loser by your own metrics. Low value.
Well, what are men supposed to do? 95% of women aren't virgins on their wedding days. You could be a multimillionaire and not get a virgin.
How do you?
But I think that's why you see more men walking away from relationships.
No. How do you enter a relationship and not think that he's a loser because he's low value?
I don't really know how to answer that question.
But it is interesting, right? Because in a sense, only a low value man, and I'm sorry, I'm only framing this in your worldview. Let's say a medium value man would decide to settle on somebody like you who's a little bit older, not as fertile. You're not a virgin. And also, I'll tell you something else. You like being in the foreground, which is not good for traditional marriages. I mean, he's looking for someone who wants to build a home. You don't know how to cook.
Yeah,
either.
I don't expect to be with like a high value guy. I think that's silly.
Okay. What's your
like when I think of high value, I think of like top 5% of men.
So what value do you think you'll be settling on in your own personal life?
What value will I be settling on in my personal?
What man do you think is reasonable for you to pursue?
I think that's a bit of a inappropriate question.
That's interesting because you spend like all day talking about this stuff. I find that it's really interesting to have you put this analysis into use. Why is it inappropriate?
The way you're framing the question is a bit disingenuous.
How?
I think most women
How is it disingenuous?
Yeah, I think it's a bit disingenuous.
Why?
Okay.
Like, I think it's fair to say, because we're talking to women about expectations and men about expectations based on their value. I think it's fair to say, okay, well, what's your value of man you're looking for based on your own?
What's my value to a guy that I'm looking for?
No. What value of man?
I wish I don't know what you want me to say. Like, I wish I was a virgin. I should have waited.
No.
I don't know what. Like, I don't. Most guys don't expect that in 2023, unfortunately. I think men adapt to the market, but I think to say that you should just sleep around is a bit silly.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking.
Well, that you were saying that more partners is good. I think that's a bit silly.
No. Okay,
I think
hold on. I'm talking about you, Pearl. I'm talking about you. Your value by your own metrics is going to be not super high.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's less high than it was 5 years ago.
But it's not even just the age thing. It's like you are working. You're in the foreground. You don't know how to cook. These are not good things for your scorecard.
Hey, I'm actually pretty good now. I've gotten.
You have a
lot better.
Okay, good. You're working towards it, but unfortunately, as you age, those things are going to bounce out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like you start in a certain place in life, but all you can do is improve and get better.
But like, how do you meet a guy that you respect because he's settling on you? Don't you see that there's a paradox here?
I mean, if you respect men, you don't like.
But how are you going to settle for a low value man? Because like that, it's like, dude, come on,
a low value man.
A low value man.
I think if you get married, you're lucky to get married.
I mean, you're 6 foot, built like a linebacker.
She's actually 5'11.5".
All right, okay, fine. She's 5'11.5". Big girl, like she's not 18 anymore. I don't know. I think she's like 26, 27, whatever. So by her own metric, and she's not a virgin. So by your own talking points, you would have to settle for a low value man. And by your own talking points, would you be okay if your guy stepping out? Because you seem to be okay with whenever you're talking about on your podcast, you seem very hands off with it. But if a girl steps out, you're very all over them. I'm just curious. If you're okay with your guy going out there and doing what he wants, more power to you. But I highly doubt it. I think if you find yourself in that situation with a guy that you love and you know he's going to X, Y, and Z's house every other day and then coming back to you, you're just going to be okay with it. I don't know. Maybe Pearl's a cuck.
What do you mean?
Well, you've spoken quite openly about how you're not a virgin, and so if you want to preserve that sanctity of marriage, then I just think that you're upholding standards that you don't actually live by.
And that's a fair complaint. I wish I was. But, we can't go back. I don't know what you want me to say.
Yeah, but I just don't think it's fair that you get to be here and you get to be paid for your views and you're telling other women that they shouldn't be allowed to.
I think...
Hang on. Okay, if I may, at some stage jump in. Isn't the whole point of being a feminist, though, that women are entitled to have their own views?
Absolutely.
So she's perfectly entitled to her views.
Yeah, but you can't...
You might not like them.
But I'm here to challenge
Isn't she exercising her right as a... Are you a feminist?
No, I am not.
Really?
No, I wouldn't. Don't go that far.
You don't want to be a feminist?
No, because I think if feminists really believed in equality. But you guys don't. I would love for you. There is an oil rig hiring. There is an engineering
I would actually
firm
love to see
hiring.
Ava Santana on an oil rig.
No, seriously. There is a building being built next to my building. Go do it, feminists. Go do it. And me, I'm saying
the same job that I'm doing right now.
When you find the man you want to get married to, are you saying you will be with that man whatever happens the rest of your life?
Yes, for the vows that we're supposed to live by.
How do you know you can keep them?
I mean, I think it's a choice. And that's the thing, like, women are so willing to leave marriages because they're not happy. This is not about happiness. The most important thing is the children. And the problem is we have a modern society where it's me, my feelings, leave when I feel like it, instead of doing what's best for the kid.
What about if she was in a relationship, then she found out her husband was a nonce? Is she supposed to stay with him?
No, for better or for worse. There's no reason to get divorced. Your husband could turn out to be a mass murderer. Yeah. Your husband could be diddling children. Your husband could be treating you like you're his boxing opponent. Your husband could do anything. She's going to stick around. So, do you know what? If you're out there and you're into any sick shit, there's your girl. She ain't going to leave you. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Pearl is your girl.
Divorce is off the cards. Pearl is your girl.
You can do whatever you want.
If you're into some weird shit, just hide it from her. Just hide it. Lying doesn't matter, apparently. So hide it from her.
Go sleep with her best friend. I'm sure she won't mind.
Sleep with her. She ain't gonna care. Sleep with her whole. Everybody that works on the Just Pearly Things network. She don't care. For better or worse. She won't care.
Michael, you can't say all this stuff.
Why?
It's just nah, for real. Cut it out. I'm trying to protect you here.
I've got to say, it's a little bit listening to Andrew Tate where some of it I really don't agree with. I don't agree with the vote stuff. When I hear things like that, I think there'll be a lot of people, especially older generation women perhaps, who think, you know what, she's got a point.
Well, I mean, I believe in agency, so I think that if a woman is going to look after her children in divorce, that's absolutely fine. I also believe in your right to speak your mind about it. What I don't understand...
I'd like to say, even before the 1920s...
Do you know what I mean?
Hold on a minute. I'm sorry, I don't mean to pause the video again, but isn't Pearl the one that, and the people, King Riches and all them lot, hey, don't talk over me. What has she just done? She just cut the girl up. The girl's trying to make a point. Whatever you want to think about Ava, it's her turn to make a point. You just talk over her. You don't even play by your own rules.
But it's not her show. That's probably what she'll say.
Yeah, but still, man.
She ain't going to try to talk over peers, that's for sure.
You're on a talk show. The girl's trying to make a point. You're supposed to be having a debate and you cut her up.
Mm-hmm.
Understand how to navigate yourself in a debate, because this girl hasn't raised her voice to you. Yeah, she made some petty digs about your height and the fact that you're not a virgin. I would say you deserve them. But she ain't been shouting over you. Let her make her point and then just rebut it. You're behaving like peers.
Women could speak openly. This idea that like women couldn't talk the last 500 years. There have been women throughout
history. The American state education system has failed before, and it's failing now.
There have been women throughout history that have read, written, and been very influential in society.
Okay.
So this idea like women could never do it.
Do you know what I don't understand though is when it gets spiteful, okay? Because you put down a few arguments that I think are perfectly, they're kind of evangelical and they're Christian, but those are your right to say it. What I don't understand is when it kind of seeps into this sort of, you call women fat, you say that they shouldn't have abortions, you say that they have STDs.
The question is, are they fat? Yes or no? The average American woman is 170 pounds. That's objectively overweight.
I mean, let's be honest. We now celebrate morbid obesity as some kind of body positive thing, and it is complete nonsense. So actually, on that point again, there's a bit of truth in that.
And this is the problem.
How have we come to celebrate morbid obesity as body positive? It's nonsense.
We're not talking about morbid obesity. I was actually watching your podcast earlier, and you spoke to someone who was, I would say, probably a size 12, and you called her fat, obese, and a divorcee.
She was fat, obese, and a divorcee.
She wasn't.
I mean, I don't know what to say. This is the thing, women, we don't want to live in reality. We don't want to say things that are true. Was she fat? Yes. Was she a divorcee? Yes. These things are just objective facts.
Okay, I'm going to have to objectively...
And she insulted me first. They always do.
I'm going to have to objectively end the debate, but it was an interesting conversation. I think we should get you two back together as a matter of urgency. Thank you very much, Pearl.
Why does she always laugh when she's making points? It's like she gets nervous.
Her voice
at what she's saying.
Her voice is honestly one of the most annoying things. I think I would like to sit and watch their podcast because I'm sure there's a lot of dumb things that come out of her mouth that we could react to, but Her voice is so irritating. I can't. Anyway. Yeah, Pearl's arguments are just nonsense. They're nonsense arguments, and majority of sane people are not going to agree with it. I certainly don't.
I think Piers will definitely get her back on again 100%.
Oh yeah, the video did like 4 million views. So, you know, Pearl's a very hot topic right now. She probably will be for a little while because she's just saying bombastic things. They're absolutely outrageous things. Don't agree with her on the divorce thing, and I don't agree with her on the voting thing. I could kind of believe her on the voting thing. I believe she does believe that about women and their rights. But the divorce thing, find yourself in a situation of a real piece of shit that talked himself up and convinced you to marry him and made you believe that he was something that he wasn't. Find yourself in that situation. Endure it for 10 years. Let us know how it goes for you. Now, I don't wish that on you. I hope you don't get with somebody that makes you go through those things to realize how dumb your talking points are. But if you absolutely believe that you shouldn't get divorced under no circumstances and we should ban divorce, your words were ban divorce, so that's an absolute, then we're going to have to talk about these situations where these horrible things happen. So again, I hope you don't find yourself in that situation. I can guarantee you, if you did and you married a piece of shit, you would rue the day that you got divorce banned, if it ever did come to pass. You would regret it with every fiber of your being. And if you had kids with this person and they were being subjected to his abuse as well, thanks to your stupid ideas, you would rue the day. So
yeah, it doesn't actually make sense.
It doesn't make sense. She's talking shit, as she usually does.